Chosen one. Hear me now. The sound that reaches your spirit in this very moment is not random. It is a trumpet call ringing through the atmosphere, but it is not a call to war. It is a call to rest. The same God who armed your hands for battle is now placing his hand on your shoulder and saying, "It is finished. The victory is already yours." Lan, you have carried heavy burdens, nights when your tears fell like secret rivers into your pillow, days when you had to walk through crowds smiling while your heart was breaking inside. People saw your endurance, but they never truly knew the battles fought in silence, the wars waged within. And yet here you stand, still breathing, still chosen, still marked. That alone is proof of divine favor. Think of it this way. Imagine a soldier returning home after years of fighting. Armor dented, cloak torn, but with the banner of victory in hand. The trumpet no longer signals him to march into fire. Now it announces a feast prepared in his honor. That is you. You are stepping into the chapter where you no longer chase victory, but you live inside of it. The prophet Zephaniah declared in chapter 3, verse 17, "The Lord your God is with you. He is mighty to save. He will quiet you with his love." This is not just a verse. It is the very announcement over your life in this hour. You are no longer in the noise of war, but in the quietness of his embrace. I want you to picture your soul like a great city after a storm. Buildings once rattled by thunder now stand under a clear sky. Lights flicker back on. Children laugh in the streets again. The war sirens are silenced, and only music rises. That is what your spirit feels like when God shifts you from battle to rest. And there is something even more profound. Rest is not weakness. Rest is holy warfare. To rest in God is to declare, "I trust you so completely that I refuse to fight battles already won." Your stillness confuses the enemy. Your peace is a shield. Your calm heart is louder in the heavens than 1,000 war cries. Let me tell you a story. There was once a chosen one who endured years of waiting. Their prayers seemed unanswered, their calling delayed, every door shut, every path blocked. They felt forgotten. But one night, in the quiet of their weariness, a whisper came, "Stop striving. Trust me." That very season, what they had been chasing for years was suddenly delivered into their hands, not by force, not by effort, but by grace. And when they looked back, they realized the waiting was never punishment. It was preparation for rest. Their story is your story. Chosen one. This message is your confirmation. You are not late. You are not behind. You are not stuck. You are exactly where God wants you. The trumpet has sounded, and heaven has announced, it is time to rest. So I invite you pause, breathe, and let this truth sink in. The victory has already been declared. The cross was enough. The blood was enough. You don't have to fight for what is already sealed. You are stepping into your inheritance now. If this word speaks to your spirit, take a moment. Like this message, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe so you do not miss what heaven is releasing next. And in the comments, declare with faith the number 777, a prophetic act of completion and divine rest. The battle is behind you. The trumpet is sounding. Step into the peace prepared for you. Chosen one. The battle is behind you. Do you realize the weight of that statement? For years, It felt as if you were caught in a relentless storm. Every direction you turned, resistance met you. The warfare was invisible to many around you, but it was real to your spirit. You fought battles in the night that left you waking in exhaustion by morning. You carried burdens that did not even belong to you. Yet you bore them because your heart could not abandon those entrusted to your prayers. And now heaven declares that the verdict has already been written. The war you thought was ongoing is settled in the unseen courts of eternity. The gavel of the judge has already struck. Victory was signed over to your name long before you realized it. When Jesus whispered, "It is finished," he was not only sealing his mission, he was sealing yours. Think about this: a courtroom where the accuser shouts his lies against you. Every sin, every mistake, every failure is dragged into the light. And then, suddenly, the doors open and Christ himself walks in. He does not argue your case. He does not beg for mercy. He simply shows his scars. The judge looks, nods, and says, "Case dismissed, paid in full." That is the unseen reality of your life. The Apostle Paul wrote in the letter to the Romans, chapter 8, verse 37, "In all these things we are more than conquerors, through him who loved us." Notice the phrase "more than conquerors." This means you did not just barely escape the battle. You did not limp across the finish line. You are crowned with an abundance of victory, the kind that cannot be reversed or challenged. I want you to consider a story. There was once a woman who felt chained by rejection. Every attempt at love seemed to collapse. Every opportunity slipped away. She began to believe she was cursed, destined only for disappointment. But then, in a quiet prayer, she heard God whisper, "The rejection was not your ending. It was my redirection." Soon after, doors opened that she never expected: friendships, opportunities, even joy returned. Looking back, she realized the years of warfare were not wasted. They were the very soil where resilience and faith grew strong. She did not lose those years. She gained unshakable strength. This is the truth you must hold. The war did not break you, it built you. What looked like defeat became the training ground for your authority. Every sleepless night, every unanswered question, every delay, none of it was in vain. The battle was the womb of your destiny. Picture it like this: a tree battered by storms. Its branches may break, its leaves may scatter, but the roots grow deeper. The winds that threatened to uproot it only forced it to anchor more firmly into the earth. So it is with you. Your roots in God are now unshakable. The storm you thought would destroy you has only secured your place in the soil of his promises. Chosen one, lift your head. You are not walking forward into uncertainty. You are stepping out of the courtroom with a verdict already declared. You are not fighting to win. You are walking in what has already been won. The scars on your soul are not shameful reminders of loss. They are medals. Proof that you stood your ground and survived what others could not. The war is behind you. The record of defeat is erased. The trumpet of rest is sounding louder now. And as you move forward, let this truth echo in your heart. No accusation can stand. No shadow can cling. No chain can remain. Heaven has settled it. The battle is already won. Chosen one, look at the scars you carry. They may still ache when you remember the moments that caused them, but heaven sees them differently. What you once thought were marks of shame are now the very evidence of your survival. They tell the story of a warrior who did not quit, who stood even when the ground beneath shook, who believed even when every voice screamed otherwise. Imagine a craftsman shaping silver. The fire is fierce, the pressure unbearable. But the moment the silver reflects his face, he knows the process is complete. That is what your scars signify. They reflect the face of the one who never left you. They are proof that the fire purified you rather than consumed you. The apostle wrote in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair." That is you, pressed, but not broken, struck, but not abandoned, wounded, but still walking. The very fact that you are here is heaven's testimony that the battle never had the final word. Let me share a story with you. There was once a man who carried deep wounds from betrayal. He had been overlooked at work, ridiculed by friends, even rejected by his own family. For years, he hid his pain, pretending everything was fine. But one night, while reading scripture, he came across the words, "My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." In that moment, he realized his scars were not signs of failure, but gateways for God's strength to shine through. From that day, he no longer covered them up. He wore them as proof that God had carried him through. His scars became his sermon. Chosen one. Your scars are not random. They are prophetic symbols. They declare, "I went through the fire, and I came out refined. I walked through rejection, and I discovered acceptance in God. I survived what should have killed me, and I now carry authority that cannot be faked." Every scar is a story, and every story is a weapon. Picture a lighthouse on the edge of a stormy coast. Its walls bear the marks of countless waves, scratches from flying debris, the scars of tempests past. Yet those marks do not weaken the lighthouse. They prove its strength. They tell every ship that this beacon has stood through storms and will keep standing. That is you, chosen one. You are a living lighthouse. Now I ask you to pause and take an action of faith. In the comments, type these 3 words: "Scars prove strength." Do it not as a ritual, but as a declaration over your own life. Let it be a reminder to yourself and a witness to others who read it that your wounds are no longer chains. They are evidence of victory. When you write it, you are saying, "My scars will no longer silence me. They will no longer define me as broken. They will speak for me, testifying of the God who brought me through." And every time you see those words again, you will remember you did not lose. You overcame. So lift your eyes. Chosen one, wear your scars boldly. They are no longer reminders of defeat. They are crowns of survival. They are holy evidence that the battle was fierce, but the outcome was always in your favor. Chosen one. The season of striving has given way to something greater. You are not just a warrior returning from the battlefield. You are an heir stepping into an inheritance. For too long, you defined yourself only by the fight, the nights of intercession, the days of pushing forward when exhaustion pulled you down. But your identity was never meant to end there. God has written your name not only in the book of battles survived, but also in the scroll of promises fulfilled. Think of Joshua after the long campaigns across Canaan. He had carried the sword, marched through cities, and witnessed miracle after miracle. Yet, when the land was finally subdued, his calling shifted. He was no longer simply a commander. He became the one who divided the inheritance among the tribes. The same hands that once carried the sword now carried the scroll of destiny. That is the transition happening in you. You are shifting from being defined by the war into being established as the inheritor of what was promised. According to what is revealed in the book of Galatians, chapter 4, verse 7, so you are no longer a slave, but a son, and since you are his child, God has made you also an heir. This verse is the foundation under your feet right now. You are not bound to endless cycles of warfare. For the one who adopted you has also granted you a rightful inheritance. Picture yourself stepping into a great estate. The battlefield lies behind, and before you stretches a house filled with rooms of blessing. Each room has a door marked with what you once prayed for: peace, joy, clarity, provision, healing. And as you walk through, you realize they belong to you, not because of your endless striving, but because of your name. An heir does not beg, an heir receives. Let me share a story of another, chosen one. She grew up feeling that her life was nothing more than survival. Every day was about fighting through poverty, disappointment, and constant setbacks. For years, she thought her identity was only in enduring, but then came a turning point. A mentor told her, "You've already proven you can survive. Now it's time to live as one who thrives." That sentence unlocked something in her spirit. She stopped, only preparing for the next fight, and began walking with expectation of blessing. Soon, doors opened that she had never dared to believe were possible. She discovered that she was not just a survivor, she was an heir. This is your revelation now. Survival was a chapter, not the whole book. You are called to step into the fullness of God's promises. You are not left standing with only memories of battle. You are crowned with authority, clothed in inheritance, and commissioned to walk differently. Think of it like a seed buried deep. The darkness and pressure make it look like death. But what emerges is not the same fragile seed. It becomes a tree, carrying fruit that others can taste. Your warfare season was the burial. Now comes the breaking forth, the emergence into inheritance. Chosen one. Lift your eyes beyond the battlefield. You are no longer chained to the rhythm of survival. You are stepping into a season where identity and promise converge. Your inheritance is secure, not because of endless striving, but because of who your Father is. You are his heir, and that reality changes everything. Chosen one. The sword in your hand has been faithful. It carried you through nights of fear, through valleys where shadows tried to swallow you whole. But now heaven is placing something else in your hands, not a weapon for fighting, but a crown for reigning. The season of endless battles has closed, and the era of walking in authority has opened. Think of a knight who has defended his kingdom for years. His armor bears scratches, his shield is dented, and his sword shows the marks of war. Yet one day, he is called not to the battlefield, but to the throne room. There, in front of witnesses, the king removes the sword from his hand and places a crown on his head. The warrior becomes royalty. The fight becomes dominion. That is what is happening with you right now. The apostle reminds us in the second letter to Timothy, chapter 4, verse 8, "Now there is in store for me the crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will award to me on that day. This crown is not earned through striving, but received because you remained faithful. The crown is your new identity. It says, you have authority. You have inheritance. You have rest. Chosen one. Crowns carry weight. They do not simply shine with gold. They carry the responsibility of legacy. When God crowns you, He is telling you, the battle is no longer your definition. Dominion is. You are no longer marked by wounds. You are marked by authority. There was once a man who lived all his life, thinking he was ordinary. He worked hard, fought through obstacles, and thought his only purpose was to survive. But then, after years of trials, he received an opportunity to lead others. At first, he resisted, thinking he was unworthy. Yet over time he realized the hardships had not come to break him, but to shape him into one who could carry a crown with humility. His crown was not a reward for perfection, but for perseverance. Your story carries the same essence. You thought the sword was your only companion, but heaven always planned to exchange it for a crown. Your scars are not the end. They are the backdrop for the brilliance of your new identity. When a crown is placed, the head naturally bows first. Bowing is a symbol of surrender, of humility. Only then can the crown rest securely. In the same way, when you bow your heart before God, He places on you authority and rest that cannot be shaken. And here is where I invite you, not with pressure, but with freedom. If this word touches your spirit, let your heart respond naturally, like this message. Share it as though you were passing a torch to someone still fighting, and subscribe as a way of saying, yes, I choose to remain in this flow of anointing, to keep receiving crowns of wisdom and strength. No one forces a warrior to lay down the sword. It is always a choice. And today, you are invited to choose. Choose the crown over the sword. Choose the inheritance over the striving. Choose the rest already given to you. Picture it like this. A weary traveler climbs a steep mountain with a heavy backpack. The climb is brutal, the weight unbearable. But when he finally reaches the summit, he discovers a throne waiting. A voice says, lay down the pack, sit, and reign. That is the exchange. You are no longer just a climber, you are seated in victory. The trumpet has shifted its sound, no longer calling you to arms. It now calls you into royalty. Step forward. Chosen one. The crown is waiting. Chosen one. Let me tell you something. The enemy never wanted you to realize your rest is not weakness. It is the most powerful weapon you will ever wield. While others scramble, panic, and strive, you are invited to sit in the calm assurance that the Lord Himself is fighting for you. Your stillness terrifies darkness, because peace is a language hell cannot interpret. Think of a battlefield where two armies face each other. One side shouts, clangs weapons, and pounds drums. The other side sits quietly, unshaken, smiling as though the outcome is already known. Which one carries the greater authority? It is not the one making the most noise. It is the one anchored in certainty. That is you. You are seated in a victory so secure that you do not need to prove it with noise. The prophet Isaiah declared in chapter 30, verse 15, "In repentance and rest is your salvation. In quietness and trust is your strength." Notice the paradox: strength is not found in endless activity, but in surrender. The more you rest in Him, the stronger your spirit becomes. Let me share a story. There was a woman who carried constant anxiety. Every problem felt like her responsibility to solve. Bills, relationships, future decisions. She thought, if she didn't keep moving, everything would collapse. But after years of exhaustion, she came to a breaking point. In that place of weakness, she cried out, "God, I cannot carry this anymore." And something shifted. Peace settled over her like a soft blanket. Slowly, she learned to let go of what was never hers to control. Strangely, the less she forced, the more doors opened. Rest became her new rhythm, and anxiety lost its grip. Chosen one. You need to hear this when you step into divine rest. You are not abandoning responsibility, you are aligning with heaven's order. You are saying, "My life is not sustained by my frantic effort, but by God's perfect hand." That declaration shakes the kingdom of darkness more than 1,000 shouted prayers born from fear. Picture your heart like a calm lake at sunrise. The sky reflects on its surface, unbroken by ripples. That is what peace looks like when God settles your spirit. And in that stillness, revelation becomes clear. Dreams and visions flow more easily. Wisdom rises where anxiety once clouded your thinking. The enemy knows this, which is why he fights so hard to steal your rest. But today, you reclaim it. Rest is not something you earn at the end of the war. It is your inheritance, because the war was won at the cross. You walk in a finished work. The enemy is already disarmed. Peace is your banner now. And here is where I ask you to respond prophetically. In the comments, type the number 444. Do not see it as a ritual, but as a declaration. It is the number of stability, of a foundation firmly set, of walls that will not be shaken. When you write it, you are saying, "My rest is unmovable. My peace is protected. My life is established by the hand of God." Chosen one. Take this truth with you. The enemy thrives on noise, but you thrive in stillness. Your rest is your roar. Your peace is your sword. And your quiet confidence is the loudest sermon you will ever preach. Chosen one. There is a holy silence that follows every storm. The thunder eventually fades. The lightning no longer flashes across the sky. The rain that once poured without mercy begins to soften, and then it stops altogether. What remains is the hush of a world washed clean. That silence, that stillness, is where you now stand. You once lived in constant alertness, waiting for the next battle, the next betrayal, the next sudden loss. Your spirit was trained to brace for impact, as if peace was too fragile to trust. But heaven is teaching you a new rhythm. The silence you feel now is not the emptiness of absence, it is the fullness of His presence. Scripture says in the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 27, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid." These words are not just comfort, they are a command. The silence you hear is not accidental, it is the very peace Jesus promised. Imagine walking into a cathedral after the choir has finished singing. The echo of voices still lingers in the air, but the silence itself becomes sacred. That is how God's peace feels. It is not the absence of sound, but the presence of something so holy that even noise bows down. Let me tell you of a chosen one who learned this. He was used to constant chaos, work pressures, family conflicts, battles in his own mind. He thought silence meant failure, that if he wasn't striving, he wasn't valuable. But then came a season where everything seemed to pause. At first, he panicked. Why is nothing happening? Why does it feel so quiet? He asked. But in that quiet, he began to hear things he had never noticed, the whisper of God's voice, the steady rhythm of his own heartbeat, the reassurance that he was safe. That silence became the foundation for his greatest clarity. Chosen one. You are walking into the same sacred hush. Do not mistake it for emptiness. Do not let old habits convince you to stir up noise just to feel secure. This stillness is God drawing near. He is speaking through silence. Think of your life as a painting. During the storm, the canvas was splattered with dark strokes, blues of sorrow, blacks of fear, reds of anger. But now the artist has paused. He sets down the brush. The colors settle. And in that pause, you realize the painting is already beautiful. Sometimes it is the empty space on the canvas that makes the image complete. The silence in your season is that empty space. It frames the beauty of what God has already done. The world will try to convince you that productivity is constant noise. That value is proven by endless motion. But heaven defines growth differently. A seed does not make sound when it takes root. A sunrise does not shout when it appears. Yet both change everything. So, lean into the silence. Let your heart stop bracing for the next wave. The sea has calmed. The storm has passed. And in the quiet, you will hear him more clearly than ever before. So rest. Chosen one. Let the silence wrap around you like a gentle cloak. Trust that nothing is missing in this pause. The stillness is not a delay, it is a gift. In the hush of this holy moment, God is speaking, healing, and preparing you for what's next. Chosen one. The silence of God always leads somewhere. After the storm clears, after the hush settles over your spirit, you are led to a table you did not prepare, yet one that was always reserved for you. The battle may have been long, but the feast is longer. The banquet of heaven is not simply about food, it is a symbol of abundance, safety, and honor. According to what is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 5, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Notice the detail. It is not a hurried meal. It is not taken in secret. It is a table set publicly, while every force that once opposed you must now watch in silence. Picture it. A long table stretching endlessly, candle flickering, plates full, cups overflowing, and at the head of the table, the king gestures for you to sit. The very enemies who once mocked you are not invited to eat, only to watch. Their presence is not a threat anymore, it is part of the testimony. Let me share the story of a woman who lived through a long wilderness. For years, she struggled to find stability. Every time she thought she was secure, another storm hit. She began to believe that life was destined to be survival only. But one day, everything shifted. She received unexpected favor, an opportunity she never applied for. Friendships that carried her instead of draining her. Blessings that felt too heavy to hold. She later said, "It felt like God pulled out a chair and whispered, 'This is yours. Sit down.' For her, The banquet was not about luxury, but about knowing she was finally safe enough to rest. Chosen one. That same invitation is extended to you now. The table is not just food and drink, it is peace. It is belonging. It is the moment when you realize you no longer have to fight for scraps, because heaven has prepared more than enough. Think of a desert wanderer suddenly stumbling into an oasis. Palm trees swaying, water reflecting the sky, fruits within reach. The contrast between wilderness and abundance is so stark that it almost feels unreal. That is the transition you are stepping into. You will have moments where you ask, "Is this really mine? Can I trust this?" And the answer is yes. It was always waiting for you. Do not overlook the detail that oil is poured on your head at this table. Oil is a sign of anointing, of being chosen and set apart. It means you are not simply eating, you are being honored. Your cup does not just fill, it overflows. It spills beyond what you can contain, touching lives around you, proving that your story was never just about survival but about abundance. Chosen one. See the banquet for what it truly is, God Himself declaring, "You belong here." No striving, no proving, no begging, just a seat at the table of a king who calls you his own. The battlefield is behind you. The silence has settled. And now the feast is before you. Take your seat, lift your cup, and let your soul taste the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. Chosen one. Rest does something remarkable. It reopens the doors of vision. When your soul is no longer consumed by survival, your spirit has space to dream again. Night after night of tossing in anxiety has been exchanged for nights where heaven whispers mysteries. The battle that once blurred your vision is over, and now your eyes are being opened. The prophet Joel wrote in chapter 2, verse 28, "I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions." Notice that dreams and visions flourish not in chaos, but when the Spirit brings clarity. This is why the season of rest matters so much without it. You could not see the revelations now prepared for you. Imagine a mirror fogged after a hot shower. At first, the reflection is hidden. You wipe and wipe, but it only smears. Then suddenly, the steam clears, and the face becomes visible again. That is what God is doing with your spiritual sight. The fog of battle is gone, and your clarity is returning. Let me tell you of a young man who carried a deep calling but could never find direction. Every time he tried to step forward, distractions pulled him away. But then came a quiet season. He lost certain friendships. The noise around him lessened, and in that silence, he began to dream again. He saw pictures in prayer, visions of his future, glimpses of the work God was calling him to do. Years later, he testified that those dreams became the map for his destiny. Chosen one. You may feel that your dreaming season ended long ago, but God says it is only beginning. Rest is the soil where new visions take root. What you will see in this time is not fantasy, it is prophecy. Dreams are not random images, they are heaven's blueprints unfolding in your spirit. Picture your heart as a night sky. During the storm, the clouds were so heavy that stars were invisible, but now the clouds have lifted, and one by one the stars return. They shine as promises, guiding you like constellations once guided ancient travelers. Each dream you receive is one of those stars, pointing you toward the direction God has prepared. And now, I invite you into a simply prophetic action. In the comments, type these words: I see clearly. Do this not as routine, but as declaration. By writing it, you are agreeing with heaven that your dreams will no longer be clouded, that your vision will no longer be stolen, that you are ready to receive revelation again. When you write it, you are stepping into alignment. You are saying, my sight belongs to God, and I will not waste this clarity. I choose to walk by revelation, not confusion. And every time you come across your own words again, they will remind you, clarity has returned. Chosen one, prepare your heart. Your rest has cleared the sky. Your dreams are returning, and your visions will light the path ahead. Do not dismiss what comes to you in the quiet hours. That sudden picture in your mind, that idea that seems too bold, that whisper you cannot explain. These are not random. They are seeds of destiny being planted by the Spirit. Write them down. Pray over them. Guard them like treasure. For what you see in this season will become what you walk in tomorrow. Chosen one, there is a holy shift happening within you. You are stepping from survival into overflow. For so long, your life felt like running on empty, constantly pouring out, yet never being refilled. But now, heaven is saying, you will not live on scraps anymore. You will walk in abundance, not as a reward you earned, but as the natural fruit of the battle already won. The Apostle Paul declared in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 9, verse 8, and God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things you will abound in every good work. These words were not a promise for another person, another time. They are the announcement over you right now. Think of a well in the middle of a desert. For years, you drew water drop by drop, barely enough to keep going. But suddenly, the ground splits, and a spring bursts forth, gushing with water that cannot be contained. That is what overflow looks like. What once trickled now floods. Let me tell you of a chosen one who lived through constant lack. Every paycheck vanished before the month ended. Every dream seemed too costly to reach. They began to settle for just enough, believing that was all life had for them. But in a season of surrender, something shifted. Opportunities they had never asked for came knocking. People they never met chose to bless them. What once was survival turned into overflow, and they said later, it felt like heaven opened a window I didn't even know was above me. And chosen one, you are on the edge of that same window. Your wilderness is turning into a garden. Your pockets that once felt empty will soon carry more than you need. But the overflow is not just about money. It is peace overflowing where anxiety lived, joy overflowing where sorrow ruled, wisdom overflowing where confusion lingered. Picture your life as a cup once cracked, leaking every drop poured into it. You tried so hard to hold things together, but it always felt like it slipped through your hands. Now, imagine the potter himself taking that cup, sealing the cracks, and filling it again. Not only is it full, but he keeps pouring until it runs over the sides, spilling onto the table, soaking everything around it. That is the abundance God is releasing into your life. And here is where I speak softly, inviting you with freedom. If this word resonates, you may like this message as a way of saying, I receive the overflow. Share it as though you are carrying water to someone still in the desert. And subscribe, not out of pressure, but because you long to stay connected to this stream of living words, to keep drinking as long as heaven pours. This is not about numbers on a screen. It is about choosing to step into community, about saying yes to walking together into abundance. Every click, every share becomes a prophetic echo. I believe in overflow and chosen one. Survival was a chapter. Overflow is your inheritance. No longer scraping, no longer begging, no longer living on the edge of lack. You are stepping into more than enough. The cup in your hand is no longer leaking. It is running over. And soon, everyone connected to you will taste the goodness that flows from it. Chosen one. The battle is no longer raging around you, but that does not mean heaven has withdrawn its forces. Quite the opposite. Angelic reinforcements are closer than ever. You are not alone, and you have never truly been alone. The difference now is that the angels assigned to you are not standing in formation for war. They are celebrating, guiding, and surrounding you with songs of victory. The psalmist once wrote in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11, "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." Notice the words, all your ways. That means not only in battle, but in rest, in walking, in dreaming, in every small step forward. God has not only secured your victory, He has stationed His messengers to remind you of it daily. Picture a great city after a war has ended. Soldiers who once guarded its gates with swords now open those gates wide for families to return. Their presence is no longer to strike fear, but to declare safety. That is the image of angelic presence around your life now. They do not hover in anxious tension, waiting for an attack. They walk with you in peace, surrounding you with invisible walls of protection. Let me share a story. A man once faced a season where his life was spared in ways he could not explain. Car accidents narrowly avoided, sickness that suddenly lifted, decisions that unexpectedly turned in his favor. Years later, he testified, "I think angels carried me when I couldn't walk on my own." His story is not unique. It is a reminder that what feels like coincidence is often divine protection. Chosen one. Heaven's army does not disappear when the noise of battle stops. They simply shift their assignment. Where once they stood with flaming swords, now they carry torches to light your path. They move ahead of you, aligning opportunities, whispering directions, and sometimes even closing doors that would lead to harm. Imagine walking through a forest at night, without light. Every step feels dangerous. But then you realize unseen lanterns have been lit along the path just enough for you to see your next step. That is how angels move in your life. You may not notice them, but they are marking the way, ensuring you will not stumble. This truth should fill you with confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. You are surrounded. You are covered. You are carried. The enemy cannot sneak up on you when heaven's army stands guard. You cannot be ambushed, because your steps are under surveillance from above. But more than protection, they are also celebration. Angels rejoice when one soul turns to God, and they do not stop rejoicing when that soul is preserved. Around you, even now, there is a chorus unseen, a celebration that your story did not end in defeat. Their songs are not of sorrow, they are of triumph. Chosen one, as you rest, know this: Angelic hosts still stand around you. They are not preparing for another war. They are ushering you into peace, carrying you into places you could not reach alone, and rejoicing with every step you take in victory. The battlefield has become a banquet hall, and the soldiers have become witnesses of your inheritance. You are surrounded, not by chaos, but by heaven's reinforcements of love. They are proof that heaven never abandons its own, even in silence, even in stillness. You are never unguarded. Walk boldly, chosen one, for unseen hands carry you, and unseen voices sing over you with unending joy. Chosen one, feel the shift within you. What once was heavy now begins to flow with ease. The doors that seemed locked are opening without struggle. The weight that bent your shoulders is lifting. You are walking into a mantle of ease, not because life will never have challenges again, but because God is aligning everything so that your steps are carried by grace. The prophet Habakkuk wrote in chapter 1, verse 5, "Look at the nations and watch, and be utterly amazed. For I am going to do something in your days that you would not believe, even if you were told." This is the declaration over you right now. What once seemed impossible will begin to unfold naturally, almost effortlessly, like fruit ripening on a tree. Think of a river flowing downstream. It does not strain. It does not force itself forward. It simply follows the path carved by the one who shaped it. That is the rhythm of your new season. You will no longer claw at closed doors or beg for breakthroughs. Instead, you will walk into them as naturally as breathing. Let me tell you a story. There was once a chosen one who spent years striving to build a business. Every plan, every strategy seemed to crumble. But after surrendering the dream to God, something shifted. Without the same pressure, opportunities came knocking. Partnerships appeared. Clients found them instead of being chased. They later said, "It felt like the wind was carrying me instead of me forcing the sails." That is the difference when the mantle of ease falls on your shoulders. Chosen one. Hear this truth. Grace is not lazy, and ease is not irresponsibility. To walk in divine ease is to flow with the current of God's timing. It means what once required sweat and struggle will now unfold with supernatural alignment. You will still move, still labor, but the ground will yield more quickly. The doors will swing open more freely, and the fruit will multiply more abundantly. Picture your life like a field that once resisted every seed. You planted, but weeds rose up. You watered, but nothing sprouted. Now imagine rain falling steadily, the soil softening, and suddenly every seed bursts into life at the same time. That is the image of divine ease, the season when past sowing comes to harvest. And here is where I invite you to declare your agreement with heaven. In the comments, type the number 555. Do it not as routine, but as a prophetic sign. This number speaks of divine grace multiplied, of transition into a new dimension, of freedom to move without the chains of striving. When you write it, you are saying, "I receive the mantle of ease. I will walk in grace. My steps are light, but my harvest is heavy." Chosen one, you are not entering a season of struggle upon struggle. You are stepping into ease, into alignment, into the supernatural flow of God. The weight is lifting, the resistance is breaking, and the wind of heaven is carrying you forward. Chosen one, never mistake this ease as ordinary. It is supernatural. What once required your constant striving will now arrive through divine orchestration. You will notice people appearing at the right time, doors swinging open without knocking, and solutions unfolding before you even ask. This is God's way of teaching you that His grace is more efficient than your grind. The mantle of ease is proof that you are no longer operating by human strength alone, but by heavenly favor. The current carries you now. Trust it. Flow with it. Your story is entering a lighter rhythm. Chosen one. Identity is everything. When the noise of war fades, you are left face to face with the question, who am I now for so long? You defined yourself by the fight, by the battles endured, the tears shed, the resilience displayed. But heaven is whispering a deeper truth. You are not just a survivor, not just a soldier. You are marked as one who carries victory in your very name. The Apostle Paul wrote in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 57, "But thanks be to God, He gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ." This is not only about the end of a single battle, it is a statement of identity. You carry victory. It is who you are. It is written across your soul, stamped into your destiny. Think about it like this. A torchbearer does not shine only when the stadium lights are on. Even when walking through dark corridors, the flame they carry testifies of light. In the same way, you do not wait until circumstances are perfect to be victorious. Victory is already your portion, already your mark, already your identity. Let me share a story. A woman once carried deep insecurity. Though she had walked with God for years, she always felt she was one failure away from being disqualified. Then one day, while reading scripture, she felt the Spirit whisper, "You are not fighting to prove yourself. You are already sealed by triumph." That revelation shifted her perspective. She no longer walked into rooms trying to earn worth. She walked in carrying authority. Not because she was flawless, but because her identity was secured in Christ. Her story mirrors your reality. Chosen one. This is why the enemy fought you so violently. It was never just about your possessions, your relationships, or your peace. It was about your identity. If he could convince you that you were always losing, always unworthy, always overlooked, then he could blind you from the truth. You are already victorious. Picture a seal pressed into wax. Once the imprint is made, it cannot be erased without destroying the entire document. That is how God has sealed your life with triumph. The mark of victory cannot be removed, not by failure, not by rejection, not even by your own doubts. It is permanent. Unshakable. This season is about learning to live from that identity, not striving to become victorious, but moving as one who already is. That shift changes everything. It means you no longer beg God to give you what you already carry. You thank Him and walk in it. Think of a crown placed on a king's head. He does not wake every morning questioning if he is royalty. The crown is not put on and taken off with each battle. It remains. His identity is secured by what was placed upon him, not by daily circumstances. So it is with you, chosen one. Anchor this truth. You are marked, not by defeat, not by striving, but by victory. It is not what you do, it is who you are. And when you live from that place, you walk differently, speak differently, and see differently. The world will recognize it too, not because you shout it, but because you embody it. Chosen one. Let this truth echo in your spirit. Victory is not a distant destination. It is your present identity. Walk with that certainty. Breathe with that assurance. Every step you take is the stride of one already crowned. Chosen one. The victory written over your life is not meant for you alone. When God seals someone with triumph, the ripple reaches far beyond their individual story. Your rest, your peace, your breakthrough, it becomes the open gate through which others enter. The blessings that now surround you are not confined, they are generational. The Lord spoke through Moses in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. This is not just about memory, it is about inheritance. What you walk in now is preparing a path for those who will come after you. Imagine a mountain pass blocked by boulders. For years, no one could cross. But then a climber arrives, breaking through, moving stones aside, carving steps into the rock. From that day forward, anyone following does not face the same resistance. They walk the cleared path. That is the power of generational blessing. You are the climber who clears the way. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who came from a family marked by poverty and constant struggle for decades. Every generation worked hard, yet remained in lack. She felt destined to repeat the same cycle. But one day, she decided to walk differently, choosing faith, choosing generosity, choosing rest in God's promises. Over the years, her circumstances changed. She built stability, and her children grew up never knowing the same fear of lack. Later, one of her children said, "Because of her, we started from a place of blessing instead of battle." She broke the cycle, and the door swung open for generations. Chosen one. Do you see it? Your rest is not just about catching your breath. It is about creating a new normal for those connected to you. Where there was chaos, peace will now reign. Where there was scarcity, abundance will flow. Where there was fear, confidence will be the legacy. Picture a well dug in dry land. The first digger labors hard, sweat dripping, hence blister, dirt refusing to give way. But once the water is reached, every person who comes after simply lowers a bucket and drinks freely. You are that first digger. Your labor was heavy, but now the flow will refresh many. This truth is not only about children or family, it is about spiritual inheritance, the people you influence, the lives you touch, the circles you walk into. They will feel the overflow of the gates you opened. Heaven's blessings are not selfish streams, they are rivers designed to branch out. Chosen one. Take heart in this. Every prayer whispered, every tear sown, every battle endured, it was never wasted. They have been turned into doors, into pathways, into wells for others to find refreshment. You carry a generational key, and what you unlock now will remain open for many to walk through. The blessing upon you has weight. It is covenantal. It cannot be erased. For it does not depend solely on you. It rests on the faithfulness of God himself. And he has promised, his love extends to 1,000 generations. Chosen one. Remember this, The covenant is not fragile. It is stronger than your doubts, greater than your failures, and wider than your imagination. Stand firm in it. What God has begun in you will echo forward, carrying light and blessing into generations yet unborn. Chosen one, there is a song rising within you now. It is not the song of battle, nor the lament of loss. It is the anthem of the redeemed. This melody carries freedom, victory, and joy. It rises from the deepest places of your soul, not as noise, but as harmony with heaven itself. The Apostle John recorded in the book of Revelation, chapter 5, verse 9, "And they sang a new song. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals, for you were slain, and with your blood purchased all." That new song is not only sung in heaven, it echoes now through every chosen one who has walked through fire and emerged shining. Imagine a bird once trapped in a cage, its wings clipped, its voice muted. For years, it beat against the bars, longing to fly. But now the door is open. It hesitates at first, then spreads its wings and sings louder than ever before. That is your soul in this moment, finding its voice again. Unashamed, unrestricted. Let me share a story. There was once a man who lived with silence for decades. Trauma had stolen his ability to worship freely. Every attempt to pray felt hollow. Every song stuck in his throat. But then, during a quiet night, something shifted. Tears came first, then words of gratitude, and finally a melody raw, imperfect, yet full of power. That night, he said, "It was as if my chains fell off and my voice remembered its purpose." His story is a mirror of yours. Chosen one, you are not meant to live muted. The song of the redeemed is not polished, it is honest. It carries the raw beauty of someone who knows pain, but also knows deliverance. Your voice is a declaration that chains have been broken, that the night has passed, that you now stand in light. Picture your song as a torch carried into a dark valley. Every note pushes back shadows. Every word of gratitude sets a flame. And as others hear it, they find courage to lift their own voices. Songs spread like fire once lit. They cannot be contained. And here is where I invite you, not with pressure, but with freedom. If this message awakens your spirit's song, then like it as though you are striking the first note of a melody. Share it the way a hymn travels from one voice to a choir, filling the air with harmony. Subscribe as a way of saying, "I will remain where this song continues." So my spirit is never without its anthem. And in the comments, write your own echo, "I sing free." And this is not about following instructions, it is about stepping into rhythm. Just as one bird begins to sing and the whole forest joins, your action becomes a note in the larger chorus. Together, chosen ones across the world form a symphony that darkness cannot silence. So lift your head, let your heart open, and allow your voice, your song of the redeemed, to rise. Not polished, not perfect, but pure. It is your anthem, your testimony, and your gift to the world. Chosen one. Never underestimate the sound of your voice. Even the softest note of gratitude carries weight in the heavens. Every whispered "thank you" shakes chains unseen. Your song is not just expression, it is warfare. It is healing. It is prophecy wrapped in melody. Keep singing. Chosen one. Peace is not simply the absence of conflict. It is the presence of God saturating every corner of your life. You are stepping into a walk of unshakable peace. A calm that does not waver, even when storms threaten to return. This peace is not fragile, it is fortified. It does not break under pressure, it deepens. The Apostle Paul declared in the letter to the Philippians, chapter 4, verse 7, "And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus." Notice the promise. This peace does not just visit, it guards. It surrounds your heart like walls around a city, making sure nothing can breach what God has secured. Imagine a harbor after a hurricane. Ships that once tossed violently in the waves now rest quietly, anchored in still water. The wind may still howl in the distance, but within the harbor, there is only calm. That harbor is what God has built within you. Even if the world shakes, your spirit is steady. Let me share a story. There was once a man whose life was filled with chaos. His family argued constantly. His finances collapsed, and his mind raced with worry. But then he discovered prayer not as frantic pleading, but as communion with God. Each morning, he sat in silence, simply listening. Over time, his circumstances did not change overnight, but his inner world did. He became so steady that others began to ask, "How are you so calm when everything around you is uncertain?" His answer was simple: "Because peace lives in me now, not outside of me." Chosen one. That is the invitation for you. Peace is not a fragile bubble waiting to be popped. It is a fortress. It is not given by the world, so the world cannot take it away. Think of a tree standing in a meadow. Storms bend its branches. Snow covers its leaves. Yet, season after season, it stands, rooted deep. Its stability does not come from the weather, but from its unseen roots. In the same way, your peace is not determined by conditions, but by your connection to the one who never changes. This kind of peace is radical. It refuses to be shaken by headlines, bank balances, or shifting opinions. It is the same peace Jesus carried when he slept in the boat while the storm raged. Others panicked, but he rested. That same peace is your inheritance. Chosen one. Let this truth sink in. You are not fragile. You are fortified. You carry within you the kind of calm that cannot be stolen, because it does not depend on circumstances. And as you walk in this peace, others will notice. They will lean in, hungry for the calm they cannot find in the noise of the world. So let your steps be steady. Let your breath be deep. Let your heart be anchored. The storms may come, but they will not define you. You walk in a peace that transcends understanding, a peace that testifies the battle is over, and the victory is secure. Chosen one. Peace is your crown now. Wear it boldly. Do not apologize for your calm, for it is proof of heaven's reign in your heart. When others crumble under fear, you will stand as a shelter. When chaos surrounds, you will radiate stability. This is not coincidence, it is covenant. Your peace is prophetic. It tells the world, God's hand is here. God's presence is near, and God's children cannot be shaken. Keep walking, steady and sure. Every step in peace declares, the kingdom has come closer. Chosen one. The journey you have walked is not only about this life. Every step, every battle, every scar, every triumph has been preparing you for the eternal promise, the rest that never ends. What you feel now, this peace, this victory, this crown, is only a glimpse of what awaits when time itself folds into eternity. The Apostle wrote in the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 9, "There remains, then, a Sabbath rest for the people of God." This rest is not a temporary pause, not a fleeting moment of relief. It is eternal, unbroken, untouched by sorrow or fear. It is the final home where striving ceases forever. Imagine a traveler who has wandered through deserts, mountains, and storms. His clothes are worn, his feet blistered, his eyes weary. Yet finally, he sees a city shining on the horizon. The gates are open, and music drifts out like a river. As he enters, the weight falls off his shoulders, never to return. That city is the promise reserved for you, the eternal rest of God. Let me share the story of an elder who carried faith through decades of hardship. She lost family, endured sickness, and lived through seasons of lack. Yet her words, even in weakness, were always, "God is faithful." When her journey ended, her children testified that peace filled the room. They said it was as if heaven itself reached down and carried her into a rest too deep for words. Her story is a reflection of the truth awaiting every chosen one. Chosen one. Eternity is not far. It is closer than breath. Each act of faith, each surrender, each moment of trust draws you nearer. And while you taste victory here, what waits beyond is immeasurable. No shadows, no battles, no nights of fear, only light, only joy, only endless rest. Picture a great ocean at dawn. Waves that once roared now stretch in perfect stillness. The horizon glows gold, and the water reflects heaven's fire. That still ocean is eternity. No more storms, no more tossing, just unshakable calm forever. Do not fear the future. Do not let uncertainty cloud your heart. The eternal rest is secure, sealed not by your strength, but by Christ's finished work. His words, "It is finished," echo through time into eternity. What began on the cross will be completed in glory. Chosen one, let your heart be steady. Your crown is not only for today, it is for forever. Your peace is not only for this season, it is eternal. Your rest is not fragile, it is anchored in the unchanging one. So walk forward with eyes lifted. Every battle behind you points toward the greater promise ahead. Every scar testifies not only of survival, but of the glory to come. Every step is leading you home to the place where victory is not celebrated once, but lived eternally. The eternal rest awaits you. Chosen one. And when you enter, you will know the battles were worth it. The tears were worth it. The journey was worth it. For in his presence, there is fullness of joy, and at his right hand, pleasures forevermore. Chosen one. Let hope rise in you. Eternity is not a distant dream. It is the destination your soul has always longed for. Every glimpse of peace you taste here is a shadow of the fullness awaiting you there. Let that promise steady your walk, strengthen your faith, and silence your fears. One day, you will step into a rest that has no ending, and every longing heartache will dissolve into everlasting joy. Chosen one, the script has come to its close, but your journey continues. You have walked through battlefields, valleys, banquets, visions, songs, and crowns. You have been reminded that you are not a wanderer without purpose. You are chosen, marked, sealed, and destined for eternal rest. Every word spoken over you is not just encouragement, it is confirmation. The war you feared is already won. The trumpet has sounded. You are ready to walk in rest. And yet, this moment is not only about hearing, it is about responding. When heaven pours truth into your heart, the most powerful thing you can do is to echo it back in action. That is why I gently invite you. Like this message as an act of saying, yes, I receive it. Share it as though you were breaking bread at the banquet table, offering nourishment to someone still starving in the wilderness. Subscribe as a choice to remain close to the flow of these words, a decision to stay aligned with this stream of encouragement. And in the comments, write your own echo, your own voice added to the chorus. Let the world see your declaration. This is not about algorithms, not about screens, not about numbers. It is about you marking a moment in time, saying, "This word was mine. I will not let it slip away." Just as ancient Israel built memorial stones after crossing rivers, your small act of engagement becomes a memorial in the digital wilderness. A signpost that says, "Here, I was reminded, I am chosen. Here, I chose to rest." So rise, chosen one. The crown is on your head, the peace is in your heart, and the future is secure. Carry this truth with you, and let your voice join the chorus of the redeemed,